What's up, Vikings fans? Welcome to the Yellowhorn. I'm your host, Chris, and today we're looking at that victory over the Detroit Lions. We're going to start off just looking at some quick stats from yesterday. Obviously, the final score 27-24. Probably could have been more. I do think we left some points on the board on that last drive. We'll get into that in a bit, but start with J.J McCarthy going 14-25 for 143, two TDs, an INT, and a rushing TD. I don't feel that INT really fell on JJ. I do think it could have been avoided had he thrown the ball a little more accurate towards the outside. And Speedy would have had no problem coming away with that. I do think that Naylor had that pinned up against his leg when he went down and then his forearm hit. And I don't know how New York keeps getting it wrong, at least from what I could see on the TV. Between that and the Justin Jefferson catch, I posted this yesterday. I don't think anybody has an idea what a catch is anymore, and it's really up to whoever is watching the game's discretion. Because last week or 2 weeks ago, you saw Travis Kelsey's catch, which literally bounced off the turf into his hands, and it was called a catch. So, what's a catch anymore? I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. But back to J.J. McCarthy, I think that's what the Vikings need to ask of him. And I hate to use the word game manager, but that's what he was. He you're not going to ask him to throw a lot. I think the final stats were 29 rushing attempts to 25 passing attempts, and that's what you need to be, especially as he's working out some of the kinks in his mechanics, getting just getting his feet under him, getting back into the swing of things. I said at the beginning of this year that with the Vikings running with J.J. McCarthy, barely haven't taken any real snaps at all, that they needed to play great defense, keep the games close, and don't ask too much of him. And that's exactly what they did yesterday. So, hats off to KOC for sticking with the game plan. I do know, as we've seen in the past, he can get away from his game plan really, really quick. With JJ, I would like to see him continue to work on his fundamentals, get his body in line with his feet on some of those, rollout passes. There was a couple drives that stalled just because of very inaccurate passes, which, you know, as they continue to work out those types of things, the accuracy is going to come. We've seen the pass to JJ, the game sealing pass to Speedy. He's accurate when he has time in the pocket and can set. So I'm not really, really worried about it, but it is something that if he keeps sailing passes over receivers' heads or skipping them, it'll be an issue down the road. But right now, we'll take what we can get. Overall, he looked good. He took a lot of licks yesterday and got up. He didn't look shaky, confident. There was a couple tackles he was able to roll out of. There was a couple miscues. I don't know who it was on, if it was on the wide receiver or if it was on, the running back, or if it was on JJ. He went to hand it off, and the running back went the other way. Those plays could have been disastrous, and they weren't. They were still able to uh, keep the damage to a minimal on those type of things. The little miscues, which again, it's his second, it's his third real game. Those things are going to happen. Hopefully, moving forward, they get cleaned up. Um, third down, they were 5 for 17, 29%. Detroit was 4 for 12 for 33%. Minnesota was in a lot of third and longs, but I liked a lot of KFC's play calling. He didn't ask, he didn't the third and longs. He didn't ask JJ to drop back, wait, and then heave it down the field somewhere. There was a couple um, screen passes. One early on, I think it was on the first drive, where he might have been third and 11, third and 12. He dumps a little screen pass to Aaron Jones off to the right. That is exactly what, we need to see. And I think that was great play calling. Um, you know, Detroit came in over aggressive, and we had a feeling they would, just because you have, second year quarterback back there who hasn't taken many snaps, first year starter coming off an injury. Like, you knew they were going to be aggressive, and that was a great way to neutralize it by Kevin O'Connell and J.J. McCarthy. So it's just a great play calling. It was great to see a quarterback who can keep plays alive with his feet. Um, Looking at the defense had a great game plan. Flores wanted to keep pressure on Jared. To do that, he was blitzing a lot, which kept the Lions from sending Gibbs out in routes, which met him as a blocker to pick up the extra guy, and he didn't do a very good job at it. There was tons of times where the linemen were in Jared Goff's lap. And that's what we want to see. That's what we've been missing between the pickup of Hargrave and Allen. We haven't seen the push up front that we really, really wanted to see. So it was a great, great game plan by Flores. The ugly things reared their head like they normally do, but the damage was minimal. The middle of the field, because he blitzes so much, was open. Metellus was a little bit too shallow on a couple of his coverages, so in like the little zone, so there was a pretty big cushion between him and Harrison or him and Theo, that Goff found quite a few times on a couple third and longs, even on a couple fourths. That's the type of stuff that they need to find a way to clean up. I don't know if it's bringing in another safety. I don't know if it's Metellus. I don't know if it's Harrison. I don't even know if it's Theo, but all three haven't graded out well this year. I know Harrison actually graded pretty good yesterday, but all in all this season, it seems like safety and cornerback have been kind of the weak links there. Having Gink back has been a huge, huge upgrade. You could see it yesterday. I know it cut into Dallas Turner's snap count. He only had 14 snap counts, I believe. But Cashman had a huge game. Eric Wilson had a huge game. Um, just all in all, the defense when Gink is there, it's just completely different. Jonathan Grenard, he was wrecking the backfield again. That one, I think it was one play where I think the Lions ended up getting a touchdown on it, but he had Jared Goff dead to rights, sacked him a little high, and Goff was kind of like able to sneak under his sack, and then you had he got it out to either Montgomery or Gibbs, and they were able to shake Rogers for a tackle and complete a huge I think third and long. Um, so those are the type of things that the defense really needs to work on cleaning up. It's just those little things, which I do think they'll get there, especially with the team finally getting healthy. Just better coverage, better tackling. It's the little things. I know Murphy and Rogers both had rough days yesterday, being picked on quite a bit. Um, but it was great. Again, it was great to see Hargrave uh, show up quite a bit on the stat box. It was great to see him on TV, and that's the thing. It's like, we can view, and I know Dallas Turner's kind of a touchy subject, but we can view, stats all day because you can spin them. People cherry pick the stats all the time to fit their narrative, but I like to go off the eye test, and you know, I know there's more to linemen's stats than sacks, but you watch a game and you can see who's in the backfield. You can see who's disrupting stuff, and that was Hargrave yesterday. That was Jonathan Gennard yesterday. Um, hopefully one day Dallas Turner gets there. He's just not there yet. All in all, though, I mean, I feel like it was a great game. Was it, the prettiest? No. Could they have won by more? Yup. But you know what? It got the team off on the right foot. It picked up the morale, got a W against a tough team in the division. You got the Packers losing. The division could truly be up for grabs. I would like to see them, address the safety of the cornerback position now with, the trade deadline tomorrow. We'll see if they do. Some names to keep an eye on maybe would be Denzel Ward from the Browns. The Browns could be sellers and looking to rebuild. I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name from Seattle, but he's another one who, we could look at, making a play for. I know we joke about Quasey's drafting. If you can't draft him, then go out, trade for people who can draft, who were drafted well. Um, Trade the draft capital away, and let's see if we can lock these players up for a long period of time. But you know, a lot of positives to come away from yesterday. A few negatives, but it was great to see JJ out there. It was great to see the locker room excited. I'm excited to see what they do against the Ravens. So I'll see everybody next week. Skull.